Are you looking for your next product idea but not sure where to start? In this video, I show you exactly how I use Jungle Scout's product research tools to uncover great product ideas and opportunities. Let's get started. Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to do this kind of product research using Jungle Scout since it's the tool I'm most familiar with. It's the one I've used for all of my product launches. And as a disclaimer, I do currently work for them, so I am biased, but you could theoretically do this research with any tool that provides this sort of insights. What I really like about Jungle Scout though is that they have so much more beyond product research, and you can use their multiple product research tools together to get a nice holistic view of the products currently selling on Amazon that might be good opportunities for you. Now, most of what I'm going to show today is for people looking to private label, so that is launch their own products under their own brand, not share a listing with other people selling the same product like arbitrage or wholesalers do. But that being said, you could still use this tool to get insights into what kind of demand and competition there are for products, even if you wanted to pursue those business models. Now, one other thing I wanted to point out is that you want to make sure that you are researching the marketplace where you're going to sell. You'll notice up here that I'm going to go with the United States because it's where I live, and most people watching this probably plan to sell in the United States on Amazon.com, but if you are from outside of the US, I would actually recommend trying to sell in a market closer to home so that you can learn the ropes of how to sell on Amazon, and then if you are if you do have some success there, you can then move into selling on Amazon.com if you want to. Now, Jungle Scout actually has several different research tools, and most people start with their product database, but I'm actually starting with the Opportunity Finder, and I like the Opportunity Finder because it actually gives me a more broad result to look into. I can drill down into its results, whereas the product database will return specific products currently selling on Amazon, and it can be easy to get a little bit lost and feel like you don't know where to go next from there. So I suggest that if you're doing this for the first time and you want some inspiration, start with the Opportunity Finder and then move on to the other tools I'm going to show you. So we're looking here at the main page for Opportunity Finder, and on the left hand side are those categories from Amazon. You can see here that if you pick another country, it actually pulls directly from the Amazon website, and so these are now in French, and they're not even necessarily a one-to-one match with the American marketplace because different Amazon websites actually have different categories. But if you're just starting out, I would recommend that you avoid anything electronic. That's because it's a lot harder to do quality assurance for those products, and so you might end up getting a bunch of products that are defective and you wouldn't even know until your customers receive them, and then you'll get bad reviews and have to issue refunds. They're also more expensive to source from a supplier, and I also recommend that you stay away from any kind of topical or ingestible products at the beginning, so anything that the customer might eat or put on their skin. Usually those products require more documentation for Amazon to even let you create a listing in those categories. And I personally wouldn't feel comfortable trying to sell those products unless I had a very close and trusted relationship with my supplier. So if you're thinking of getting into those categories as a beginner, I would just recommend staying away from them. The good news is that there are millions of products selling on Amazon every month, and so there's a lot of other things that you could sell. And then later on, if you do want to move into one of those spaces and you have more experience, then you might look into doing that. So I usually start with just one category rather than choosing multiple ones, but you can mix and match to your heart's content, and the more categories you choose, the more results you'll get. But I'm just going to start out with the patio, lawn, and garden category for this demo. And then on the right here, there are some filters. So the first one is the number of monthly units sold, and this is the prime filter for determining the level of demand for these products. Now, I usually tell people that the bare minimum for any product to be interesting to me is that it needs to be selling at least 300 units per month on Amazon. It comes down to about 10 sales per day, and I think that's a very reasonable goal for a beginner seller to aim for, but that is the bare minimum. If you wanted to, you could bump this number up and put something higher like 500 or even higher. So I'll leave this at 500 for now. And then the next part is the average monthly selling price. Now, in the past, we used to recommend that people look for products selling for $20 US, but I've actually moved that up to a minimum of $30. That's just because Beyond sourcing the product itself, you'll also have a lot of other expenses in running your business, and if you sell products for less than $30, it can be almost impossible to make any kind of margin on those products. Now, if you have noticed, there are a lot of products on Amazon selling for less than that amount, but either those sellers are using those products as loss leaders and trying to bundle them with a higher priced product to raise their average order value, or they're losing money on those products, or they're just big enough businesses that they can actually source them from a supplier for so cheap that they can still make a profit selling them for less than that amount. But if you're an individual entrepreneur just starting out and thinking of selling on Amazon, I would recommend that you look for things around that $30 mark. Obviously higher is better in some ways because it means more revenue, but usually if you can charge more money for it on Amazon, it's going to cost you more money to source from a supplier as well. And one other thing to keep in mind is that when people are shopping on Amazon, a lot of times they're just shopping for themselves or maybe looking for a quick gift idea for someone they know. And so you want to be able to sell something that they could easily buy on impulse. Obviously, people sell expensive items on Amazon as well, but those are going to be a little bit harder to win those conversions unless the person has been considering the purchase for a long time. So I usually look for products within that $30 to $70 range just to see what we can find. Now, below that, there's this monthly search volume, and that refers to the results we're going to see in this table, which are actually keyword phrases that people are typing into Amazon when these products show up. Now, I think that a minimum monthly search volume is about 2,000 searches, but I actually like to push that up more to like 3,000 or 4,000. When we look at the results, you'll see that some of them have tens of thousands of searches, and it sort of depends on how broad the phrase is and how many potential near matches there are to it. But this is also a level of demand. If something isn't being searched more or at least 2,000 times in a month, there's probably not a whole lot of interest in that product, and therefore just not a lot of demand. Now, the niche score is just one of several scores that Jungle Scout likes to give to everything. They love their scores from 1 to 10. I always leave this blank because I'm not really, I don't want to narrow my results down too much at the beginning. Once we start getting some ideas, I might come back and use this, but I'm not going to mess with that for now. And then I also don't really care too much about the 30-day or 90-day search trend, which is just how much has the search volume for these phrases increased or decreased over the previous 30-day period or the previous 90-day period. Again, that's more advanced, and when you're just starting out, you just want to get some ideas. Below that, we have these sliders for the level of competition and seasonality. Seasonality refers to whether the products are sold more at a particular time of year. So think about like winter sporting goods that people would only need during a certain period of the year. Or the example that I've often used when training people is here, I live in Texas. I noticed a couple of years ago when I would take my orders to the local UPS store, somebody near me was leaving these big boxes of above ground swimming pools that they were selling online and then shipping via the UPS store, and I only saw those during the summer months and then they disappeared. So those would be highly seasonal products, and if you're a beginner, I would also recommend that you stay away from anything seasonal because you do need some historic data in order to order them intelligently. You will only make sales during a small window of the year, and so if you really want to build a solid business that can provide you year-round income for several years, we don't want to look for seasonal products. Those are more for advanced sellers who know more what they're doing. So I'm going to just move that down to medium. And then the competition level, obviously people want to find very low competition, but it's, especially on the American marketplace, it's going to be almost impossible for there to find any results that are very low competition if there's a healthy demand. So we just need to accept that there is competition out there, but that's okay with me because personally, as long as there's demand for these products, I'm willing to try to sell them, and I'm confident in my ability as a seller to outcompete the other people on Amazon. And you'll find when you start looking at your competitors' listings, a lot of them are really not that great, and there's a lot of room for improvement. So I'm going to leave this at medium or high just to make sure that we get some results. I won't include any specific keywords or exclude any keywords, but again, if you had some ideas for what you were looking for, you could certainly put those in there. And then I do usually leave the exclude top brands box checked just because it does help exclude some of those really big names that we don't even want to try to compete with. So you can see here this table the columns mostly correspond to those filters that we just looked at. And on the left-hand side are the results, and these are just keyword phrases. So here's an example of porch swing cushions. So as a whole, this niche is selling about 668 units. So whenever somebody searches for porch swing cushions on Amazon over a 30-day period, it looks like about 668 units are being sold. The average monthly selling price is about $61. People are searching for this phrase at a rate of about 23,000 searches per month, and that's actually increased both over the last 30 days and the last 90 days. That could be because it might be like a summertime sort of thing. People are probably not looking for cushions for their porch swings in the middle of winter, so it might be a little bit seasonal, although it does say it's very low, and that's a good sign. So this is already an interesting niche to explore, and I can expand this row and then get some historic charts that show me over time how this niche has performed. So the very first one is the number of units sold on average. And remember, again, this represents whenever somebody searches for this phrase on Amazon, any of the related search terms as well, all of the sales are added up here. And so this is actually holding pretty steady over the last 2 years. One little side note, I am using Jungle Scout's most maxed out plan, which is the professional plan. If you do sign up for their Freedom Builder Bootcamp course that gives you that access to their lifetime access to their course specifically about selling on Amazon, you will get access to the professional version that has all of this data. But if you're on the suite plan, you'll get a year of data. So that's perfectly fine as well. You can make a decision based on a year of data. But I just wanted to point out that I am using one that has 2 years of data in case you don't see that in your own. Now, I also like to look at the historic price to make sure that it's not going down too much. It looks like these were more expensive in the past, and they have been trending downward, which might indicate there's more competition, and so that's a little bit worrisome. It's not a reason to just write this off immediately. I would like to see the price go up over time. Now the search volume is really cool because there's also this dotted line that indicates how this has actually been trending. Sometimes just watching the line move up and down, it can be pretty difficult to tell whether it really is moving up or down over a longer period of time. So that little dotted line is a recent addition to Jungle Scout that makes it a lot easier. And I should point out that as of this filming, Amazon recently changed how they report on keyword search volume. So all of the keyword phrases that we've been looking at have actually got this spike recently, and then as time goes on that will kind of even out, but just wanted to point that out since it is a little bit of an anomaly. But the good news is that this does look like it was kind of holding steady or even moving up, so there is steady interest in it. And then the last thing I check is the seasonality chart. I'm not sure why this is saying very low, just because it does appear that there's a peak in interest here in the spring months, and then that slowly tapers off over the autumn and the winter, but it does go back up. So again, I probably would not look at sourcing this kind of a product as a beginner seller, but it's still an interesting niche. And what I really like about starting with Opportunity Finder is that it gives you a phrase to start with, and that can spark some ideas for other phrases to search for, or maybe related products that you wouldn't have thought of if you had just dived into looking at individual products. Then if it does look like an interesting niche, we can click the top products tab, and now this gives us a window down into the next tool I'm going to show you, which is that product database. So we can look at specific product listings on Amazon and see what people are interested in, what kinds of materials, what sizes, what colors, all that kind of thing. These are the top selling products as of the last time that it refreshed, but Jungle Scout is constantly refreshing and talking to Amazon, so these results are fairly recent. And if I wanted to, I could even go straight to Amazon by clicking on this button, but I'm actually going to jump over to the product database so we can look at that in a little bit more detail. Now, you will notice that the product database within Jungle Scout is set up extremely similarly to Opportunity Finder. They're both databases of a sort, but as I mentioned, this one's going to give me specific product results. The left-hand side is exactly the same as what we were just looking at, so again, I'm going to check that patio, lawn, and garden box. Now on the right hand side, the filters are a little bit different. So working our way down from the top, the product tier refers to the size of these products. If you're a beginner, just go ahead and click that standard box because that'll be most items that you would find on Amazon. The oversized category refers to things that are really dense and heavy or have unusual dimensions, so they're large and they're going to be a lot more expensive to store in a warehouse and ship to the customers. And that's true whether you're going to use Amazon services or you plan to do this yourself. So if you have some experience, you might want to check that to widen your results. But if this is your first time looking for a product on Amazon, I would say don't even bother with the oversized category. Now the seller type, you can choose Amazon, FBA, or FBM. Amazon, besides being a giant marketplace and a data company, also sells their own products under hundreds of different private label brands. Some of those brands they've actually acquired from individual entrepreneurs who sold their companies to Amazon. Other times these are brands that Amazon has just built from scratch themselves. And you don't always even realize that Amazon is the one that owns the brand. The one that most people are probably the most familiar with is the Amazon Basics category. But even though Amazon sells a lot of products, they don't always put a lot of heart or thought into those products. And so you could still compete against them if you could make a differentiator to the product or just give a better experience to your customer with your branding and your service. So if you want to see what Amazon has identified as a good product to sell, you could click this box. Next to that are FBA and FBM. If you've been researching how to sell on Amazon, you might already be familiar with those acronyms, but they are two different fulfillment methods. FBA stands for Fulfillment by Amazon, and that's where you, the merchant, just outsource all of the logistics of your operation to Amazon. So you send in your inventory to their warehouses, and then they'll spread it out all over the country into multiple distribution centers so that they are close to the end customer. The Amazon customers can make use of their Prime membership to get that free 2-day shipping, sometimes even faster than 2 days. And then if they need to return the product, they can send it right back to Amazon's warehouse, and Amazon will actually handle all of the customer service in that regard. So I do highly recommend using their system because when it works, it is amazing. And having done fulfillment by merchant myself, which is this other box where I would take my orders every day to the post office or the UPS store to have them fulfilled, I'm lucky that they're nearby, so I could do that, but I will just tell you that having to schlep those packages every single day is really annoying because I had to dedicate an hour of my afternoon to like packaging them, putting the labels on them, and then actually taking them there before the deadline for the day. And I could never really go away on vacation because I was the one who had to do this. So I would really recommend using Amazon's fulfillment services rather than trying to do this yourself. But I actually recommend doing both of them because it's always good for you to have some of your own product on hand just in case there's an issue with Amazon's warehouses. Now, you can check both of these boxes or leave them blank. It doesn't really matter. These are just different types of sellers according to Amazon, but they're really just referring to the fulfillment methods that these sellers are using. Now again, the price, I'm just going to put in 500. We also were looking at minimum sales in a month of about 300 units. I think I'm going to bump that up to 400. Oh, I'm sorry, the price, not $500. I should have actually said the minimum price is $30 US. I actually think I'm going to put 40 for now. I don't usually look too much at the net because there are so many other costs that go into running an Amazon business outside of Amazon that calculating the net profit on Amazon using Jungle Scout is always really just a ballpark figure. So when you're starting your product research, do not even bother with that. I also don't worry too much about the sales rank because again, at the beginning, we're just trying to get some ideas and then we'll dive into them more. Now, the revenue could be useful if you know that you wanted a product. If you know that you're trying to make a profit margin of about 30% or 33%, which is about a third of it, you could look for products where it's like their minimum revenue per month is at least $1,000 or even $10,000, and then using that number, you could extrapolate what your potential profit might be. But I don't usually constrain myself at the beginning with that number. I usually come back to that later once I have some more ideas that I want to look into. Now, I do definitely care about the reviews field because this is how we gauge the level of competition on Amazon. The number of reviews refers to any kind of feedback from the customer, whether they actually wrote a review and left photos or they just gave a star rating. Any of that counts as a review in Amazon's eyes. And I normally put in 100 as the maximum that I'm willing to entertain because after a product gets 100 reviews, it actually gets quite sticky at the top of the search results, and it can be a little difficult as a newcomer to dethrone sellers who have more than 100 reviews. Now, if those reviews are mixed or negative, then that's no problem. You could certainly come in and improve the product and dethrone them, but I don't usually look for anything more than 100 reviews. The star rating as well, I don't mess with that too much, but if you really wanted to find like good quality products that are popular, of course you could put in a minimum rating of something like a 4.5 or something like that. I'm going to leave it blank though. The weight and stuff, again, relevant if you already have done some math or some calculation about storage fees and all of that, or the shipping fees. Amazon actually publishes all of their size categories in Seller Central and tells you exactly what it costs to ship a package depending on its dimensions. So this could be useful if you know that you're not willing to spend more than X amount of dollars on shipping, but it's another constraint that I don't really mess with at the beginning of my research, as this training is focused more for people who want to own their own listing rather than resell existing products and therefore share a listing with other sellers. So the minimum and maximum sellers is really only relevant to people who are pursuing that arbitrage or wholesale business model. If you're looking to private label, then you don't even need to worry about that. And then lastly, the listing quality score is one of the scores that is pretty interesting at Jungle Scout. It goes from 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst score and 10 being the best score. And what you could do is you could look for products that have a maximum listing quality score of like 6 or 7. Now, Jungle Scout is the one who assigns this to every listing in their database, and they look at a lot of factors like, did this seller use all of their available bullet points? Are the character limits for each section of the listing generally what we'd recommend for this category? How many photos have they uploaded? Are they getting generally positive or negative reviews? All of these things go into how Jungle Scout calculates their listing quality score. The idea is if you put in a maximum of something like 6, then you could find products that are great opportunities according to your other criteria, but the people who are currently selling them on Amazon are doing a mediocre job of marketing them, and you could improve your own listing and then make more sales. Now, I will leave that blank just so we get as many results as possible, but I do like to put in a maximum of like 6 or 5 sometimes just to see what comes up. You can also choose the date first available in case that's important to you. Usually products that have been on Amazon for several years will have a lot of sales history established, and so it can be harder to compete with them versus products that were just launched in the last year or two. And then again, if you have ideas for keywords that you want to include or exclude, you can of course put those in there. I will again exclude the top brands and any listings that are out of stock or otherwise suppressed by Amazon and therefore unavailable. And it does usually take a little bit of time for it to think, but not too long. Usually it's pretty quick. It is looking through millions of products that are on the Amazon.com website. So I think if you use a different marketplace, you'll probably get results a little bit faster than it's showing me right now. But like we saw with the Opportunity Finder tool, it's going to give me a table, and the columns at the top again correspond to these filters. And as you can see here, unlike Opportunity Filter, which showed us search phrases that represented entire groupings of products, now we're actually looking at specific listings on Amazon with their own unique ASINs. So since I had chosen the patio, lawn, and garden category, we're getting a lot of stuff like hoses, some little decorations for gardens, although this is a 2-pack it looks like. Now, it is pretty interesting to see how much these products are selling in a month, because the top one here is generating like $39,000, almost $40,000 of revenue, while this 100-foot garden hose is generating $180,000 of revenue a month. So there's clearly demand for this. They're selling 1,800 of these per month versus the one up here, which is 925. We can see what the selling price is, and below that there's these 2 clickable orange numbers. The first one is the fees breakdown, and this will show us if the seller is using Amazon to fulfill these items. So they're sending their products to Amazon's warehouse. Amazon is the one shipping them to the customer. The fulfillment fee is how much the seller is paying to Amazon every time Amazon ships one of their products to a customer. So they're paying $3.07 for every sale. The referral fee is completely unavoidable whether you are using Amazon's warehouses or you're doing the fulfillment yourself, by virtue of listing your products on Amazon's website and tapping into their household name recognition and all of that organic traffic. Every time you make a sale on Amazon, they're going to take a cut of that sale based on your selling price. The percentage does vary by category, but most of them are about 12%. It doesn't really vary wildly. The average is about 12% of your selling price. So Amazon will take that as well. I have never seen a product with a variable closing fee, but just in case that was in there, you would see that reflected here as well. So to be aware, this person is charging almost about $43 for this product, but they are paying Amazon about $9.50 for every sale they make. So knowing that, we could then click on the left number, look at the profit calculator, which again includes those fees, but it also will let you play with the selling price and the product cost. So if we keep the product price at $42.99, we had done some research on maybe Alibaba. I don't know what it costs to make these hoses, but let's say they're selling these for about $43. Let's guess that it, costs about $11 to manufacture them and ship them and stuff. So if we could get this product for $11 per unit from a supplier and sell it for $42.99 on Amazon and pay those fees that we just looked at, we could potentially make a profit of $22.47 per sale. Now, I'm just wildly guessing at the cost to source this product based on my own experience working with Alibaba, so this could be really wrong. And also keep in mind that when you sell on Amazon, there's a lot of other costs involved as well. So this person might be running pay-per-click campaign ads. Those are not reflected here in these fees. They're likely paying for that professional Amazon Seller Central account every month, which is $40. They might be using multi-channel sales. So they might be selling on Amazon, but maybe they also have their own website that they're hosting, and they've got all their software and all the advertising for that as well. So for their entire business, all we can see is what they're doing on Amazon. So just keep that in mind. Make sure that the profit margin is healthy enough that you're willing to take a risk if it looks interesting to you. And then you could even expand this row. If there's multiple products, you'll see the little number 1 there showing that there are variants. So when I expand this row, you can even get a breakdown based on how many children ASINs there are too. Now, if this product looked interesting enough and I wanted to begin tracking it in Jungle Scout, this little plus sign will let me add it to the product tracker. When I click on that, it'll give me some existing groupings of products that are already set up in this account, or you could even create a new group immediately if you'd like to. You can also download the entire table as a CSV file, so you can take it into Excel and do your own analysis there if you'd like to. And then, like I mentioned, you can even go straight to Amazon and view the product there by clicking on this button. So with that being said, the next tool that I want to show is their browser extension for Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox. So I've already done a search on Amazon here for peat moss spreader, which is this kind of garden tool for spreading things around your yard. And when you come to Amazon's search page, if you have Jungle Scout's extension plugged into your browser and you're logged into it, beneath each result, you will see some at-a-glance information about these sellers. So we can see right here that this very first one, which is an ad, by the way, because it says sponsored, the very first product showing up here is selling about almost 1,200 of these a month, and they're doing almost 30 of them per day. So they're generating $239,000 of revenue. Their listing is okay, could be better. There are 5 people competing on this listing selling these products under this ASIN. So this is a branded product that has multiple sellers. They are fulfilling it themselves rather than using Amazon to do that. We can see the weight and when this listing first went live on Amazon, but it's really cool because as you're browsing Amazon for products that you want to buy, you can kind of peek behind the curtain with the extension and see these sellers' numbers yourself. So here's one down here that it says there's only 1 seller. So this one, there are not multiple people competing on this listing for this product. So it's really cool that you can get that kind of info at a glance. Now, when you're on the search results page, you also can click this little floating icon here, and it'll open a pop-up that will scan the page, and it'll do an instant calculation. So it aggregates all of the results on this first page here for us. So on average, all of these products that showed up when I searched for peat moss spreader are selling about 858 units per month, generating about $75,000 of revenue per month. They're selling for an average price of $214, and on average, they have about 1,500 reviews. So the opportunity score from Jungle Scout says that this is somewhat interesting. There is medium demand with not too much competition. But I can say right now that if you're a beginner seller, I wouldn't look at trying to sell this product because, for one thing, the selling price and the dimensions, this is an oversized product. It's going to be large and heavy. Getting these things from a supplier, maybe in Asia, even if you could find a supplier in the United States who's making these things, just buying them is going to be expensive, and then storing them in a warehouse will be quite expensive as well. But normally what I would do is I don't pay too much attention to the opportunity score at first, because most people don't realize that they need to come through this list and they need to really look at the products and make sure they're comparing apples to apples. So this little red one right here is not exactly the same sort of product as these drum-shaped ones that we were looking at. So I could click on this little check mark here, this is a handheld one for spreading seeds around your garden, so that's also not the same. So I can check those rows and then click hide rows, and then it will hide them, and then it will recalculate this. And we can see that the opportunity score already increased by just removing those 2 results. A lot of times when I'm training people, they get frustrated because they're like, I can't find anything with an opportunity score better than 4, and they don't know that they need to refine this table so that they're looking at the exact same type of product. So make sure that you do that before you look at this. And even then, I only use this as a suggestion. You really need to do your own analysis of these numbers. So the first thing that I look at is the monthly sales. I want to make sure that they're selling at least 300 units in a month, and as we can see here, on average they're selling almost 900 of them, so there's clearly demand for these products. But some of them are not really doing so well. They're only selling about 66 of them, or maybe 180. Others definitely are selling a lot in a month's time, so there is demand for this product. The next thing I do is I come over and look at the ratings column to see the number of reviews. My general rule of thumb is that when we look at the top 10 here, we don't want to see more than 1,000 total, because again, remember when I was in the product database, I was trying to find products that had no more than 100 reviews. So if each one of them had 100 max and I spread that across 10 top competitors, that would be about 1,000 maximum. So the other thing I want to see is, are they evenly spread out, or are there already 2 or 3 that have most of the reviews and everyone else is really struggling to compete? So you can see that the very first one, which is an advertised product, has 993 reviews. These guys only have 27 and 21. Down here, this one has almost 30,000 reviews. So this is not a great sign, because it means that all of the sales are concentrated in just a couple of very established sellers. If I wanted to sell this product on Amazon, it would be really hard for me to ever beat these top sellers. What I'd rather find is a niche that has top 10 that only have tens of reviews and that they are evenly spread out. So those are the 2 main ways that I analyze whether something looks like a good opportunity or not. And the more that you do that, the faster you'll get at doing this kind of research. One other thing I wanted to show you with Jungle Scout's extension is that if we actually go to one of the product listings, when we click into the listing itself and we have the extension installed in our browser, after the listing loads, there is a widget at the top of the page that will show us one of those historic graphs like what we were looking at in the Jungle Scout web app. And that will give me an idea for this specific listing, how the price has changed over time, how many units have sold, how many reviews have been coming in over time as well. So as we can see here, we've got those daily sales and monthly sales numbers, the revenue, all of that kind of thing. But then over on the right hand side is where I can choose those metrics that I want to track in the chart. So by default, I've got the unit sales and the rank, but if I wanted to, I could also look at like how many reviews have they gotten over time, and then it'll add that line. So that's this step-shaped line over here. So pretty handy for getting an at-a-glance view of how strong the sales history of a given product is on Amazon. And then the very last product research tool that I wanted to point out is Jungle Scout's product tracker. So as we are looking at these products and getting ideas and whatnot, we want to actually add them to a tracking tool ourselves so that we can make sure that when we discovered them, they weren't having a particularly good day or week or a particularly bad day or week. We want to make sure that a product we want to sell shows consistent demand over at least a month period, and actually the longer the better. So here in Jungle Scout's product tracker, at the top of the page are several tabs already set up because this is my account, and you can name the tabs whatever you need to keep them organized. Some people like to do this by country, some people just do it by niche. The essential thing though is that as you add products to each tab, just like I said when you're using that pop-up on the extension on the search results page of Amazon, make sure that you are adding products that are extremely similar to each other. So if you're looking at 2 packs of a product, make sure that every product in that list is a 2-pack, not a single version or like a 4-pack of that product. Because you'll see here that as you begin adding the products to the product tracker, just like the extension, there is this group overview, and it will give you that aggregate information about the average number of sales, the average net profit, average star rating, all of that kind of stuff. The difference is that in this tool, these numbers are specific to the product listings that I have chosen to add here myself. So if you're not sure how many products you should be tracking before you make a decision, here's my recommendation. I would say add at least 20 products to a given tab and then track that over time. And when I say track it, if you click the little view button, this drawer will slide out, and just like the extension showed us that history for the product, it will show you the history for this product as well. So if there's already sales data for it, you should see that here, because I've got 6 months of sales data and this product has been selling. Now, of course, if this listing had only gone up in the last 2 months, we wouldn't have but 2 months of data to look at. But add at least 20 products and then monitor how they've done over time. And if everything looks like it's holding pretty steady or even increasing, like the price is going up or the searches or the number of sales are going up, that's a great sign that it could be a great product to sell. If it's going down though over time, then that might make me reconsider whether I should really think about sourcing that product. Okay, that was a lot of information. You're probably wondering what to do next. Well, obviously the first order of business is, if you don't have a product research tool yet, make sure to check out the link in the description of this video to get a nice discount on one of Jungle Scout's packages using my link. Also, definitely think about getting their Freedom Builder Bootcamp course as part of their master bundle. It includes lifetime access to their course that walks you step by step through the process of building an Amazon business. And you get access to their exclusive members-only Facebook group where I offer bi-weekly coaching sessions. So if you want to see more of me, definitely think about that package. Then the next step is to open an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Sheet and start adding product ideas to it. You'll want to start with at least 50 to 100 ideas and spend the next month to month and a half looking over the data for these products to make a decision. Product research is hard and it does take time, but it is foundational to success on Amazon, so definitely don't rush through this process. But also be aware that it can be really easy to get paralysis by analysis and to keep putting off the process of making a decision and sourcing a product. So if you're new to this and you're doing it for the first time, set yourself that deadline of a month to a month and a half, and then you can start looking into finding a supplier and writing a listing. And if you want to learn more about those subjects, definitely subscribe to my channel. Check out the other videos as well. It really helps me reach more people and continue bringing you great content like this. Thanks for watching. You can do this.